The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host, guest, random reptoid, or chupacabra may not necessarily reflect those of AM 950 Radio, its affiliates, or its sponsors. Now, it's time to step into the unknown. The best of Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken.
This is the best of Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken on AM 950. Tonight we're going to play parts of interviews from 3 different guests. We've had some amazing people appear on the show, and we think that they should be heard from again. Enjoy the show. I am with Bishop Christina Rake, and we've been talking about all things exorcism today, a really light subject, right? And we've been talking about a number of things, but I wanted to bring her in to talk about the films as well, and talk about the things that we see in the films, and are they anywhere close to what she has seen or heard from her peers who do exorcisms? And Bishop Rake, I think the first one that kind of goes with the new film Exorcist Believer, and I had asked Bishop Rita Strugula about this, and I don't know if she understood my question, because she had something where the evil entity was jumping from between 2 people, a mom and a mom and a daughter. In the film, it is 2 children, both simultaneously possessed, and it isn't in jumping around or anything like that. They are both possessed at the same time. Is that possible? Have you run into that?
Yes, it is very possible. Again, people think of demons or spirits or ghosts like us, just like they think of God like a human being, because that's our only experience. But like I explained to people, how many places does Abraham Lincoln haunt? They're hundreds of miles apart.
Right.
These entities are not bound by time and space. They can be in many places at the same time, or one place at many times. It's not the same. Just like St. Michael can be all over the place and hear everybody, so can they. These are former angels for the higher demons, the more powerful demons. So yes, it could be possessing 2 people at exactly the same time, the exact same entity. And in a case like that, you would want to perform the exorcism of them at the same time, because you want to eliminate it from this entire what's the best word? The system. It's inhabiting a system, and you need to remove it rather than triangulate it. So yeah, I've read about that. There was a case in France in 1549 where an entire convent in Loudun was possessed, 68 nuns by the same demon. This is common throughout history.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's something. And you know what's interesting? I'm just going to be very honest, and I hope it's not offensive to anybody. I always find especially Roman Catholic nuns, their habit and everything else, especially in the old days, very haunting.
Yeah.
It's very haunting, and I'm a big British television fan, and there's a series on Armchair Thriller called Quiet as a Nun, and it's one of the protagonists in it is a faceless nun in the same sort of habit. It's very, I don't want to say creepy, because I think that makes I think that's an insult to all nuns, but you know that imagery being used, like in the film The Nun and stuff like that. I mean, it's used to that direction, and it's not, they're not dressed any differently than as they would as followers of religion. So also, keeping in the Exorcist theme, I've talked about this a number of times on the program. William Friedkin, who directed the original Exorcist film, he had done in 2017 a documentary called "The Devil and Father Amort," and that was a documentation of a real exorcism. So in it, what sounded to me as this woman in Italy is getting exercised, she is screaming, she's writhing in pain, and it sounds to me that there are multiple voices at once. Is that something that you come across?
Yes, absolutely. And there have been many analysis of the recordings of Annalise Mikel's case from 1974, um, where they have run it through various programs and they found several voices at the same time, or they find it's the individual's voice, but they are hitting frequencies that human vocal cords simply cannot hit. I have a recording of a demonic chant in Latin from a satanic altar in Texas, and you couldn't hear it while you were there. And when we slowed the frequency down, there were several voices, there were horns, there was one voice over other voices. And this is what will come out of the person's mouth, or the voices are simply coming out and they're being recorded while the individual is speaking amidst them. So there are many cases, and it's one of the determining factors, or one of the symptoms or ways to diagnose an actual possession is the recording of the voice.
Mm,
Sometimes you've even had the person speaking, and when you listen to it back on tape, you can hear them speaking forwards and backwards at the
at the
same
same time.
time, but the human ear can't pick it up.
My goodness. What about mimicking? What about, like, if you get a mimic of like someone that you know coming out of somebody else's voice as almost taunting or messing with you?
Yeah, the strange, I guess, twisting of the vocal cords to stimulate other people, including dead relatives of the exorcist, people they've harmed, and things like that.
Hmm.
That is recorded going back to, oh, good gracious! I mean, even in Greek exorcisms in ancient Greece and Rome, there are some accounts of exorcisms at that time of people hearing the dead speaking through the inhabitant's voice, through the possessed's voice. And so that's a very common aspect of exorcism, thousands of years old. The vocal cords being able to do things they shouldn't do, we can see that more in modern times, but the many voices speaking at the same time, that's as ancient as possession itself.
And we know about the ability to speak languages that that person has never spoken before. I mean, that's like a gimme, right? That you get that quite a bit.
Yes, but what's interesting is in modern times we've learned a lot more about the brain, and so I get a little more skeptical of that because of
Hmm.
cryptonesia. False memory is when you mistake imagination for memory. Cryptonesia is when you mistake memory for imagination. You've heard something, you forget it, and then you think you're thinking of it anew. So that's a skeptic's response to the ability to speak foreign languages or remember other lives. Um, but if the person is able to speak extensively, more than a couple of lines or something, then yes. But a few words, no. To me, you could have heard that anywhere.
Absolutely.
Um, yeah.
I mean, because that has to. I mean, that is that's not unreasonable. To be able to be like, okay, I mean, hearing, yeah, some words, a couple lines, whatever, but yeah, to be able to, especially if you brought someone in who speaks fluently that language or whatever else, that they could have a conversation or something of the sort. Uh,
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, and going more to the physical side of things, I see this in a number of these type of films. The idea of like a black gunge being exuded out of either their mouth or something like that. Is that a real thing?
Yes. First of all, when people ask me what does an exorcism look like, I'm like, well, there's lots of sweating and vomiting. It's just it's almost like a flu being expelled from the body. But there have been cases throughout history where people have vomited nails, pins, rats, bones, blood, fur. Um, there are accounts where several people that started vomiting. It was almost as if they were vomiting the house they ate. They were vomiting wood, nails, thorns, all things that you associate with the crucifixion. So it is interesting, but that vomiting of foreign objects, in addition to liquids, is actually very common in exorcisms throughout history. The pea soup stuff, vomiting on you, yeah, um, it's not pretty. No vomit is pretty.
No,
It's
no.
just not. But the black liquid, the tar, the blood, the fur, the rodents, the nails, yes, that is very common throughout all of exorcism literature, throughout all different cultures and times and histories.
I mean, and because I mean the vomiting of like the pea soup. I mean, it's gross, but I mean we've all had some sort of version of that.
That is the least
Right.
of the weird vomitings that I've read about over the years.
But the idea of something that should not be, and you said rats. Do you know if the rats are alive when they come out?
There are accounts where one of the rats scurried, but those were in a case in Portugal.
Mm-hmm.
In the 1600s. I don't know, because if someone vomited a rat in front of me and it moved even a little, in my mind I'd be like, it ran away.
Yeah.
So whether it moved or not, that's very distressing that it was even in there. So,
And that's the point, right? To scare you.
Yes, exactly. The point is to scare you, but also the point is to show off.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, it's to be showy. It's to cause suffering, questioning, problems, whatever.
Wow. I mean, and obviously physical strength, all the physicality of it. But the one I always I wonder, and the original Exorcist film, as I said at the top of the program, is always going to be for me, like, I mean, just the way it was shot, the way that it was cut together. It is very disturbing. I mean, and it's disturbing not like, oh, this seems unreal. It's disturbing like this could happen. And it's very raw in a lot of ways. And the idea of levitation, and also the idea of of the victim like spelling something on their stomach, or even this entity spelling something on their skin. Have you run into that?
Yes, the levitation actually, in a very recent case, and I can't get into details, but it scared the life out of some very grounded medical staff in an institution, because you've got this 8-year-old lifting 300-pound men and then running up the wall. Scared the life out of a few people. The levitation is very common, but I need to segue quickly, because levitation is also common among the saints.
Yeah.
So are writings on the body, stigmata, and stuff.
Yeah,
and the thing
that's
about
true.
demon possession is it mimics what God does, but in the worst possible way. So the mimicry of the writing on the stomach is a mimicry of the stigmata that the saints had. The
Right.
mimicry of levitation, same with the saints. So yeah, the writing on the stomach I've read about in so many different cases, and I've seen a case of it. And I actually was sent photographs of a burn on someone that looked like some kind of sigil. And I had to take it to my medieval grimoire collection in my office and start looking up what on earth entity this thing was trying to express. So those are very common. Strength and levitation. Levitation, not so much, but strength, oh my goodness. Very, very, very much so. And you have to be very cautious in those situations. And then again, from the skeptic side, adrenaline causes strength and whatnot. But when you put all of these together, then you have a full picture. It's never just one thing. There's always an entire gamut of symptoms and expressions during possession.
Now, we're running out of time here, and we could keep going for a long time. And there's other things that hopefully we can get you back on for that's popped in my mind as we're talking today. But Bishop Rake, once again, could you give us your email address for people who would like to look into your demonology class, please?
Sure. It's Bishop Rake, RAKE, at AmericanOldCatholic.org. And that's our actual church website, AmericanOldCatholic.org. And you can find more information about the 99% of the other stuff we do, which is
Right.
helping people, combating human evil. So please, by all means, email me or go there.
You are listening to the best of Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken. Remember, you can hear full past episodes, see upcoming events, and order books of the authors we have on the show by going to ghostboxradio.com. Don't forget to like us over on Facebook, look us up at Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken, and finally, please consider supporting me on Patreon. We have a special, unique audio content that you'll not find anywhere else, plus special episodes. On Patreon, you can find me as Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken. We'll be back with another guest after the break. You're listening to Ghostbox Radio on AM 950.
The best of Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken.
We are talking to Rob Guttrow. He is an author, paranormal investigator, medium. We are talking about pets in the afterlife. His newest book had recently been released. It's available on Amazon, Pets in the Afterlife 4, Messages from Spirit Cats. But Rob covers a lot through the other 3 books, and there's a lot of other books that Rob has written that are really worth checking out, and we just want to keep bringing Rob back to talk about them. Karen says, my cat, my angel, crossed over September 27th unexpectedly after teeth extraction. She died overnight at home. I found her in the morning. She was my familiar. I get it. She saw spirits, noticed everything. I am lost without her and don't know why it happened. Rob, I mean, is this one of those situations? Would you recommend them reaching out to you separately to help maybe get some more answers?
Well, interestingly enough, Greg, Angel is actually coming right through to me now and making
incredible.
me have some heart issues. Like, I feel like a murmur had happened. So, it feels like her heart stopped. There was a weakness in the heart there, and that's what had happened.
Wow.
So there was nothing that could have been done. So Karen, what that tells me is that you, as a pet parent, did the absolute right thing, because teeth do cause heart problems. Teeth are linked to heart problems. So there was nothing else that you could have done. You did the right thing. And there's no reason to feel guilty, because you were doing the right thing as a pet parent. And that's one thing that people often say to me is that, oh gosh, I feel guilty because I brought my cat or my dog in and they passed during surgery, but it was her time. So what I would encourage you to do is to ask her to come into your dreams and try and find some healing that way. Also honor her memory. There are many things you can do to honor her memory. Donate to an animal rescue, adopt another cat, set up a little memorial for her maybe if you have a house in your backyard, or set up photographs with her collar or something.
That's great, Rob. And thank you for sharing what came through. And Karen, I am so very sorry for your loss. And I just would like to say that even my cat Dave, who he was my first rag doll, and he was something very special. And I had to make the decision to bring him in to put him down, to put him to sleep. I knew I knew it had to happen. Yet I still felt the greatest guilt of my life that this family member that's been with me for 10 years that I made that decision. So Karen, I understand the guilt, but I wholeheartedly agree with Rob, and thank you for sharing that with us. Can I share some more with you, Rob?
Sure.
Jen just says that Rob did a reading for my cat Shane. He had mentioned about a bird singing loudly, and I had the window open recently and heard a bird song I never heard before, and it was super loud. I knew it was Shane. Thanks again, Rob.
Hi, Jen. Thank you. It is pretty amazing because cats can also influence things in nature, like birds and butterflies and dragonflies and so forth, squirrels, rabbits, things to do animals to do things unusually, that things that they normally wouldn't do in order to let us know that they're around.
Right, right. Um, let's see. I think this was answered, but Joanne just asked, "Does the animals that we lost call to you when we ask?" And I mean, that's that. I think the answer to that we've been talking has been yes, right? You just got to hear it. You just got to hear it, right?
Yes, yeah. Well, Angel, Angel just came through to me like 5 minutes ago. So,
Yeah, yeah.
mhm.
Yeah. Let's see here. We also have Victoria asked the question. Curious, since I've moved to this town where I do not know anyone, it seems that I have inadvertently adopted several shadow cats. I see them all the time, most of them inside. Why do you think they show up? Is it because I'm new in town and they feel safer here?
Yes, absolutely. Hello, Victoria. I Victoria is a cat mom, and animals in spirit, whether or not they've crossed over or if they're earthbound. And let me just tell you that it's my experience that less than probably 1% remain earthbound. Most of them cross over. Will be attracted to someone whom they know will love them
Hmm.
and care for them. And that's very likely why Victoria is overrun with cats in spirit.
Got it. Got it. Let's see here. We also have Carol says my dog Brownie had to be put down. We all went into the vet to be with Brownie. I'm still missing her. It was in September. Does she come? Does she come here? I want to know if she's okay. Another dog came to my room. It was off limits when Brownie was with me. Now we're not doing anything unless anyone comes through to Rob like Angel did. But that's we're not really doing that tonight. What would you suggest, Rob?
So, um, first of all, I would say that that Brownie, no matter where our pets pass, if your pet passes at the vet, they're always going to find you no matter where you are.
Yeah.
They will always find you at home. My dog Buzz came to me in 2009, 4 years to the day after he passed, when we were on vacation in Puerto Rico.
Mm-hmm.
He led me to a man walking a Weimaraner that looked exactly like him. So Brownie can find you anywhere, anytime, any place. And it doesn't matter where you are. And your other pets, your other cats or dogs can see your cat or dog in spirit. And in my books, I explain that they have a different configuration in their eyes and their ears that allow them to see and hear spirits. Humans don't have that same configuration. Um, so watch
Wish
your
we
cat
did.
or dog very carefully, especially around birthdays, anniversaries, and holidays, and anniversaries of passings, because they may be staring at your visiting cat in spirit.
That's pretty amazing. Once again, the book that the most recent book is called Pets in the Afterlife 4 Messages from Spirit Cats. It's available on Amazon, and there's a lot of other books available that Rob has written as well. Rob Guttrow's his name, and we're really excited to be talking about all this tonight. You know, when it comes to human spirits cross passing, we believe that human spirits have to cross over, cross the veil.
Mhm.
Does that same sort of thing happen to the animals?
Yes, every living thing, um, every li- every living thing has a soul, just like people, and we all go to the same place on the other side. The only alternative to the other side is being stuck earthbound as a ghost.
Right.
And only humans are really not smart enough to cross over. So
So it'd be that animal instinct that they just know that's just natural for them.
yes, absolutely. Because when you think about it, Greg, and as you know, as being a cat dad, animals know when there's love and kindness, and they are attracted to that, and
Yeah.
peace, and
Yeah.
that's where they go. Conversely, they go away from danger and fear and so forth, and that's what happens if you stay behind as an earthbound ghost.
Right, exactly. So they could pick up the danger and whatnot. It makes sense. We got about 5 minutes or so before we go to our next break. We Can you give us an example, please, Rob, of a really cool story from your book, the most recent one about getting a sign from a cat that maybe really helped somebody. It might even help some of our listeners here that are struggling with the loss of their family member, of their cat family member.
Sure, absolutely. Um, there was a cat named Gracie, and Gracie had passed in 2017, and Gracie came to me and gave me a sign, a special sign for her mom, and she told me that she would send her mom a special leaf. Now, I know that's kind of
It,
crazy,
it's so
but
sweet. It's so sweet, actually.
but her mom wrote me back and said, and her mom said that she lived in the Midwest, and she said that there's a lot of leaves around here, and that's kind of crazy, but I'll keep an eye out for it. So she wrote me back and she told me that normally she deals with a lot of feral cats, and normally she uses paper towels to clean up after them in the garage. But this one time she used a towel, and she was thinking of her cat when she was taking care of the feral cats. She was thinking of Gracie, and she happened to look down, and on the towel there was a heart-shaped leaf that appeared,
Wow.
and she knew right then that was from Gracie. It was in the shape of a heart. Um, and when she wrote me back, she she wrote three or four exclamation marks after her message. Um, but so that's a very subtle sign. But number one, she was thinking of Gracie when
Yeah.
she was helping the other cats. Number two, she wasn't using paper towels for the first time in a long time that she normally discards. She was using a towel, and she dropped it on the floor of the garage. And she said that she realized that all of these things had to come together
Yep.
in order to get that sign. And that's what I write about.
That's pretty amazing. Do animals, like for example cats, after they pass, do they get jealous at all that you're bringing someone new into the house, or do they worry about being forgotten?
They don't worry about being forgotten so much, but some of them do get jealous. It depends on their personality. I've had cats come through that will tell me that they were a female cat, and they said they only wanted the pet parent to adopt male cats because they wanted to be the only female cat
Yeah.
in that particular family. Um, so so sometimes they do get jealous, but and other times they may not like the pet that you adopted, but they come back in spirit and they do train the pet that you adopted. So you may see them do something, the new pet do something similar that your pet in spirit has done.
So I want to, before we go to break, I want to quickly tell you my story because it leads into this. Is I mentioned that my first ragdoll was a cat named Dave, and he was an incredible, I mean, truly a best friend. And a number of years have passed, and I started dating somebody who had a cat that looked just like Dave, as it happens. And
Ah,
but on closer inspection, not really at the same time. And this cat was named Linus, and we never dated. I mean, we did date for a little bit, but we stayed friends. And she kept offering Linus to me because they wanted to get a dog, and she could see that we had a connection. And I said no because I had an older cat, AJ. One day I finally decided I am going to get Linus because I really do want him in my life. And as soon as I made that decision and gave her a call, I'm going up the stairs and I feel something tugging at my sock. And I look down, there's nothing there. And immediately, intuitively, using my intuitiveness, I'm like, that's Dave. And I said, Dave, don't worry. I'm not going to forget about you. And the day I went to go pick up Linus, I'm driving down a road. He wasn't too terribly far from me, about 20 minutes or so. I'm driving down the road, and there's a truck that's on the side of the road, and it's the side of the truck is facing me going down the road, and in big letters, it said Davy on it.
Okay.
I mean, his name, and it's how I call him. I'd never call him Dave. I call him Davy. I mean, it just, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Dave, I'm not going to forget about you. You're not, I just I felt like I had to really let him know. And it's still one of my favorite memories because it was, once again, like the heart leaf. I feel like that is one of those things that a lot of things had to be lined up, because there is a company around here called Davy that does I don't even know what they do, but I see them occasionally. Is that crazy?
No, not to me.
You are listening to the best of Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken. Remember, you can hear full past episodes, see upcoming events, and order books of the authors we have on the show by going to ghostboxradio.com. Don't forget to like us over on Facebook, look us up at Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken, and finally, please consider supporting me on Patreon. We have a special, unique audio content that you'll not find anywhere else, plus special episodes. On Patreon, you can find me as Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken. We'll be back with another guest after the break. You're listening to Ghostbox Radio on AM 950.
The best of Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken.
We're talking with Madame Pamita, and we've been talking about curses, and I wanted to there was a couple comments, at least one I wanted to kind of talk with you about on the chat here over at Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken on Facebook. And Nicole had said that I've done curse removals, saw the energy lift for a week max, and then the heaviness returned. It seemed like it always comes back. Do you find that at all?
Well, that can happen. And what I often recommend to people when they're doing cleansing, spiritual cleansing, is that they also do protection work afterwards. Because like our analogy of the dog poop, if the dog poop is there and you're stepping in it, you got to have some kind of protection, right? So it may be, if you're finding that it's happening over and over again, it might be, I would sort of start to track, maybe even having a journal and tracking like when it lifts and when it comes back again. Is it related to a space that you're going into? Is there some place that you're going into and you're picking up that energy? Is it a person that you're around you're getting that energy from? So it could be anything. So I would recommend doing, you can move through life with lots of protection and not pick up a lot of this energy if you have that spiritual protection. And that could be as simple as wearing a talisman or a charm. It could be, an evil eye charm, for example, or like in Slavic magic, we wear coral or amber jewelry as protection. You can also, use like a spiritual oil. Like I have an oil that we make called Powerful Protection. It makes you invisible to your enemies, spiritually invisible. You're not actually invisible, but you're spiritually invisible to your enemies so that they can't get in there and get that negativity toward you and attached to you. So I would start journaling to see when does it happen again, and if there's some kind of common denominator of when it comes back. But in the meantime, you can also be wearing talismans or working with other products that are about spiritual protection.
Now, Della Ann from YouTube says, hello, beautiful. I guess my response to that is hello. What are you laughing for? Anyway.
You want to arm wrestle me for that comment?
Hey, can't we both be beautiful?
Yes, I think we are.
in our own own strange ways. I guess I'm talking about myself with that. I don't even have a Kamarchik shirt. I didn't even know they sold them. It makes sense. I mean, I don't.
Oh my gosh. Well, listen, I got this one because it's in I'm Ukrainian, and
Yeah.
it's in the Ukrainian colors, and on the back it says kovbasa, which is in Cyrillic, which is the word for sausage. But they have other, because they sell food from all different countries.
Yeah.
They have different colors and different words on the back. I think I bought one from one of my kids, and it said beef sausage or something on the back of it. Yeah.
Well, and I have a Polish background, so definitely
Pierogi.
pierogies.
Come on.
Yeah. The sad thing is, and I've always feel bad for my mother, was that we're told in the family that she made the best Polish food, and I cannot stand any Polish food. I can, no matter how much I try. Cabbage rolls, just pierogies are okay. I'm embarrassed to say that. I feel so bad because she had made the best food, and both my sister.
You should be embarrassed.
I
It's
am.
great food.
It is, I know, and both my sister and I. Maybe my sister now, over time, maybe her taste buds had changed, but I just never. And I don't like cabbage. I just don't like it, no matter how much I've tried it, all of that stuff. I can't. Sauerkraut and all that stuff. No, thank you.
Gosh,
I
you must
can't
be a
do it.
super taster. You taste all the bitter stuff.
I do.
People.
I do. I have quite the palate. I'm not saying it's good or bad, but I have quite the palate. So I want to talk a second. You, I would assume, identify as you say a witch, a teacher, best-selling, is that white witch, right?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't use the term white and black as, that to me is kind of a delineation. People say white witch or gray witch or black witch, but I think it also has a connotation that when we look at white as good and black as bad, it feeds into racism, right?
Sure.
So I don't like using that terminology. I would say I'm Glinda the Good Witch,
Right.
who was kind of, she was no slouch when it comes to witchcraft. So I look at myself and I'm like, what do I want to create in the world? What legacy do I want to leave? And I want to bring good into the world. I want this world to be better. That saying, when you go camping, leave it better than you found it. Take away the trash, take away those things. So that's kind of my philosophy in life, is I want to make this world a better place, not wreak destruction. There's no need for it. It doesn't solve anything. It doesn't, so yeah.
What do you think about then witches I identify as gray witches, or let's say ones who kind of don't, they don't care. It's the way I've kind of looked at it, is like whatever side, whatever needs to happen that might be on either good or bad side. What do you think about that?
Well, I think one of the things that for me is so empowering about following a witchcraft path is that you get to decide for you. There's I always say, there's no pope of witchcraft. There's nobody on high that is telling you can do this or you can do that. Now, you might belong to, a spiritual path that does have rules, but for the general person that is an individual, solitary practitioner who's doing their magic, they get to decide what's right for them. So while I might look at that and I go, oh, that's kapusta soup, it's got cabbage in it, I don't want it.
Yeah.
I
don't.
it.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about, but yeah.
So Greg is like, I don't want cabbage soup. I'm like, bring me all the cabbage soup, right? So I think that it's I think birds of a feather flock together. I usually flock together with other positive people, people that are negative, people that are vindictive, vengeful, and things like that. I'm not interested in hanging around them in general. And so I have no judgment on their personal choices. Maybe I would wish that they would be a different way, but I'm not going to criticize or condemn them because I have not walked in their shoes.
Sure.
I haven't. So for me, I can make the choices for me. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about a path of magic, a path of witchcraft, is that you get to decide your own ethics. And in deciding your own ethics, you don't have something handed down to you. You do have to examine things and make choices and choose a path. So you can be Luke Skywalker, you can be Darth Vader. It's your choice, whichever one you want to be.
I feel like that the message of the day is kind of mind your own business in a sense, and kind of stay in your lane. And I don't mean that as like so constrictive, but it certainly feels like, worry about your own stuff before you worry about others. And it seems like a good energy sort of lesson to kind of be learned, I think.
Yeah. And I think it's wonderful that there are some beautiful things about looking at other people's practices, looking at what other people do and deciding for yourself, that's not for me, or that is for me, I think that's true. I would even say so far as like, if someone chooses a religion that they follow that I might not agree with, it's okay. It's not I don't have to do it. It's their choice to make,
right,
what their path is, their spiritual path is. As long as like you said, they stay in their lane. When they start then say, well, you can't do this and you're bad. And then we get into witch burning times and all of that stuff. That's not great. But, other than that, I think, it's like we can all coexist. We can all coexist. It's possible to do that.
Yeah, that'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was also curious, we were talking earlier about just, knowing, wondering if you have a curse, wondering if, how things are. Say that you don't know one way or the other if you have a curse, and you're just feeling like you might have something. And, I've heard of spells like return to sender spells, stuff like that. Do those have any value to them?
Those are great spells. We call them reversing spells, return to sender spells. They're what I call very clean magic, because it's like the old playground thing. I am rubber, you are glue. Whatever you say bounces off of me and sticks to you,
mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So if someone it's a very clean way of working, because if somebody is not, like, let's say you you think, oh my gosh, this person is sending me something really negative. They're cursing me. They're horrible, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to do a reversing spell. Say that person is innocent. They're not doing anything wrong. Then if their energy is neutral toward you or positive toward you, and you do a return to sender, you're not sending anything negative back to them. So you're not cursing them. You're only sending back their energy to them, right?
Right.
We see this in a lot of spiritual practices. From feng shui with bagua mirrors,
mm-hmm.
which are mirrors meant to send back any negativity sent your way. So this is a very clean way of working, because it's foolproof. Whatever they're sending to you, you're sending back. If they're sending good or neutral back, you're sending good or neutral back. If they're sending something negative, you're sending their negativity back to them, and let them deal with their own negativity. But it's clean. You're not cursing them. You're just sending their energy back. So
the one that I've seen before and I have used in the past also has it where it's, you're sending that energy back, and it states if they send it, whatever energy they send back comes only as love and light, only as, and I really always thought that was very, very good, and very much in the vein of where I want to be in this community, of being able to, like, it's not about, it's in a way, it's about redemption, I guess, in a way, just being able to, let's just be good people, right? And I think it's almost more powerful to do it energetically, that you can have that aura, you can be the best person you can be. I just, there's so much negativity that I love that in that return to sender spell that I had, that a friend gave me, that it was whatever came back comes back as love, regardless of their intention.
Yeah, that's lovely. That's lovely.
Yeah, it is. It is nice. And, and everyone, and I know a fair number of witches, and I know a fair number of mediums, and I find it very fascinating that everyone is very positive. If you do run across anyone who has more ill intent or anything, I haven't seen it yet, and I've been doing this for a very long time. So I find that I find that good, and that I find that, you know, maybe your message might be slightly different than other people's message, but overall it's the same. It's the same. You know, it might be some different words, might be some unique new takes that I haven't seen before, but at the end of the day, everyone is hoping for the same thing. And I think that's a real testament to that community.
Absolutely. I know amazing witches, and I yes, you cannot throw a rock without hitting an amazing witch in my world, at least, you know.
Well,
I surround myself with them. So
I was going to say that like energy. You've been talking about that. Absolutely.
Yeah. Like attracts like, you know, so.
Like always attracts like. Now we have less than 2 minutes left. What are you working on right now? Any new books? Yes,
I got a new book coming out in September. It's called Cancer Witch, but it is about the astrological sign Cancer. So Ivo Dominguez Jr., who's another amazing, wonderful, positive witch, and I love him so much. He authored this series of 12 books, one for each of the zodiac signs, but he partnered with another witch who was of that sign, who could give the perspective of that sign. So we have a whole series. There's a whole series: Aries witch, Taurus witch, Gemini witch, Cancer witch, Leo witch, and so on. All of the signs have their own individual books. And so I was brought on board for the Cancer witch one because my son's sign is Cancer. I just had my birthday July 5th.
Wow.
And so that's what I was doing. That's coming out in September. They've already started dropping some of the books. I think Aries, Taurus, and Gemini are already out. The next 3 will be coming out in September, so including Cancer Witch.
And Nicole asks, is it based on Western or Vedic astrology?
It's based on Western astrology, which is what most people in the States, which is Llewellyn is the publisher. This is where we are and who we are. So this is, based on that.
No, that makes sense. Now, and then for anyone who wants to keep up on what you're doing, would you suggest going to parlorofwonders.com?
Yeah, so if you go to Parlor of Wonders, it's spelled the fancy way, Parlour of Wonders.
You are listening to the best of Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken. Remember, you can hear full past episodes, see upcoming events, and order books of the authors we have on the show by going to ghostboxradio.com. Don't forget to like us over on Facebook, look us up at Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken, and finally, please consider supporting me on Patreon. We have a special, unique audio content that you'll not find anywhere else, plus special episodes. On Patreon, you can find me as Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken.